Welcome to 4Player, a quarterly podcast, monthly podcast, a seasonal podcast about whatever we want to talk about related to gaming, life, growing old, or whatever. I'm your host, Nick of the Nth Review, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Just a Bald Guy, Wyatt, James.
Howdy,
How you
everybody.
doing?
Welcome.
High functioning medium.
Hello.
Hello. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Shkotsky.
Hello.
The Primordial Legends?
Chronicles.
The Primordial Pretzel?
Close, but no cigarettes.
Pretzel dip? Oh, God. How's everyone doing? It's been a minute since we've gotten together to talk on the radio about anything, actually.
Hanging in there, man. Seems like it's interesting times for a lot of things. We got, Olympics going, games to talk about. It's just, I think all of us are busy in our own little ways, huh?
Indeed.
That's what I think. Medium, are you busy? Do you have busyness?
Busyness abounds. Maybe not as much for you guys because I had to become gainfully unemployed for a little bit so I could look around and get away from places where I'm constantly getting hurt. But keeping myself busy with the channel and other health concerns, I guess.
Yeah. Did you guys just hear my AC kick on?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Good. Goodness gracious. We're good.
I have now.
Shkotsky, I don't know how the summer is over there, but it's freaking a disaster over here.
What do you mean by disasters?
It's hot.
Oh, yeah, it's hot in here too, but it's like a mixed bag. We get storms almost daily.
Gracious.
So, it changes very rapidly.
Y'all ever lose power with those storms?
Very convenient.
We used to, yeah. We used to have winters where you lost power for 2 weeks straight, and all we did was kept our fireplace going, and that was it. And played board games, but not the fancy ones.
Well, you're in Poland over there, so you're right next to where all of the most complicated board games in the universe are constructed.
Yeah, but we play chess, or maybe not even chess. Something simpler than that.
We call them Euro games. I guess y'all just call them games.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're in the video, you don't call them video games. You just call them games.
Right. When you go to China, you don't eat Chinese food.
Video games.
Just eat food, yeah.
Little.
All right. Well, our first item we got up today. So the last episode, we were watching raw footage of Starfield, that one game that Bethesda made and has not really updated since. But I'm going to kick on the Cyberpunk review, because that's come out in the couple months since then. I did want to start off with a question here about what technology featured in Cyberpunk do you wish we had today, and whether that's flying cars, brain dances, drones, because drones don't exist here in the real world. Baldy, kick it off. What are you thinking about this, or just Cyberpunk altogether?
Well, in general, the first thing I've always wanted, and I think they have some extent of this in Cyberpunk, is food replicators. Anything that you could have in the house that's Star Trek style. You walk up, tell it what you want, and then bam, it kicks it out. I know they have something akin to that in the Cyberpunk universe, but anything in that style, like the way the apartments look, when you're, go to V's apartment at the beginning, the way the techie kitchen appliances, all that stuff looks, that's where I would like it. That's my number one most desired advance in the world. It's just more food, more easily, right there when I need it.
That's a priority right there.
Priority.
Medium, what about you? What's a technology that pops out about Cyberpunk? We're looking at this scene where people's brains are getting erased. I don't know if you want to erase any brains per se. But what's your attraction to or repellent from Cyberpunk?
Honestly, the one you mentioned in the little intro here, the brain dance technology, That is by far and away
Mhm,
the most
mhm.
interesting one. I'm agreeing. I guess it's interesting because I've seen how fun it is to play in, but just from a usefulness perspective, all the different applications you could have to go inside someone's memory banks. I don't know if you ever played that game Observer or not. It's very similar to that. Basically, a guy whose
Heard of
job
Oh,
it.
is
yes.
a brain dance, essentially, to go in people's heads and relive their recent memories or something like that, and he uses that to solve crimes. I just thought that was a really cool application of that. Not to mention all
The only good game by Bloober.
right.
What were you saying, Shikotsky?
Yeah, I just said that, I think Observer was like the one highlight that Bloober had because the medium is obviously very medium and not in the way that our medium is,
Right.
but it's kind of mid. But all of their like other titles are kind of, they are an acquired taste, let's call it that. And the Observer, I don't remember the name exactly. It was the one that actually seemed good.
Right.
It definitely had the
I-
coolest.
From what you guys are what you guys are describing, that also sounds kind of like Tacoma, which was Fulbright's second game after Gone Home, where you're up on a space station and you're getting like
Oh,
psychic ghosts, and they're like telling you the story and stuff like that. I don't know if that's similar to that.
not at all, but you tried.
All right, that's fair. Cyberpunk was I I heard a lot of people, there was a lot of people who gave comments on this review that were very much, oh, I remember playing it on launch day and I didn't have any issues and there were no bugs, and I've loved it ever since it came out. And
Lies.
yeah, so it seems like everyone kind of had variable experiences over the, and so since I didn't play it back then, this review then became a reflection of where the game is at now, and I loved the game now. So I don't know if you guys have had any experience. Obviously, it sounds like Shkatsky had the immediate repulsion to the way it was earlier. I mean, we're all familiar with the Kroby Cat compilation from what's got the early 2021, where he's just like showing how broken this game in its worst case scenario was. What did you think about that contrast there?
And also, we got to get Shkysky's Cyberpunk tech too. Maybe that's part of his aversion to those initial
Very
reactions.
convenient
there. He's
algorithmic
got the
excuse to go
ultimate tech that he wants to see, made reality.
Yeah, that's true.
Was that a question?
Sure.
Yes.
That was my long-winded.
Oh,
next
okay.
question. But also, tell us what do you want to see from Cyberpunk?
Well, I've got a short one. Do you remember that mirror that you have in V's apartment, or like apartments that you can buy or rent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really funny to me that when you walk into the bathroom, you can't see shit in the mirror. So to see anything and to like see your character, you need to actually click on the thing, and then there's this special animation, and like you have this whole menu that release it didn't really do anything, and now you can like adjust some stuff in it. I don't remember now, but
Yeah.
I always thought that it would be actually cool to be able to walk into the bathroom without having to look at my face sometimes.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
like,
that
Yeah.
opaqueness.
It's like
Yeah.
that
Like
exercise
I want to choose if I want to look into the mirror, like actually choose.
Do I want to see my face today?
Yeah. I don't feel good with myself today. No.
Aldi, you were saying?
There was like those exercise mirrors that are out now, right? That you can see a personal fitness coach or something akin to that in the mirror talking back to you, and so you can choose if you turn it on or off or what it does. It's
Like those
almost
virtual mirrors, like
Yeah,
with the
something
time
like
and
that.
stuff in there. They've got like a display on the backside of it, something like that.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that in some tech video. Yeah.
That's what we need. So we need mirrors that are opaque, and then they become clear so that you can see yourself. And then in the game, you actually picked what facial expression you wanted to give.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like if you wanted yourself to smile, you would actually just hold a controller and it would cause you to smile or frown or scowl or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I think would be an interesting technology, especially if someone else got a hold of it and they're just making your face scowl or something at random. Like someone around the world has just hacked into your face and all of a sudden you can't control what your facial expression is at any time.
Oh yeah, that whole scene from the DLC with that face surgery thing. That was really existentially terrifying. Like the idea of like somebody surgically removing your whole face and replacing it with some kind of a device that can morph into anything.
Yes.
And it was really kind of gruesome when it happened. I wasn't prepared for that.
Well, we're seeing this part where we're looking at the black wall and stuff, and this game, it's not that other games didn't tackle existential issues, but this game seemed to kind of tackle them head on about who you are. And I thought that was a huge theme of the main campaign: is what is a person? How can they be manipulated? How can they be augmented? And when in the end, when you're talking to what they have, the scan they have of God, what's his name? Your pal, and there's like nothing left of him. So he's just rattling off like just stuff that doesn't make sense in the context of, especially when you're asking questions, and it's like, oh no, this isn't him at all. That was frightening. You're right. It's like existentially terrifying about what this game.
And like the chip is actually modifying your brain to kind of make it more suitable for the guy. So imagine like your brain changing to suit a person you're actually not.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because this was a technology that Arasaka had invented. So he
like that whole concept of the father, being able to live in his son's body and like even making it public in one of the endings, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of terrifying.
So some heavy stuff, or these brain
and nothing really all that grandiose.
What's that?
It wasn't. I meant. It isn't really all that grandiose, right? It's like, it's a very personal story, and the stakes aren't really, they aren't on a galactic scale or, anything like that. Like, the world won't end because, the guy dies, right?
Right.
He's just
a lot of games and movies.
He's just a guy.
Towards. Yeah. And it's just a corporation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Baldi, destroying them wouldn't really change anything.
Right. Baldi, did you get... I know it's been a little bit since you've played, right? Mm-hmm. I know you played kind of earlier and then you kind of fell off a bit.
So I got it on launch day with a brand new computer, and I had a decent experience. The graphics and the weird glitches I had were like the car sinking into the sidewalk and annoyances, but nothing that really impinged on it. Mm-hmm. That said, I played hard and fast, as constant with it. And I never touched anything, really post-game, Phantom Liberty or anything else. I went all in for a while, and then I was disappointed you couldn't skill check, speech check really too much. It was basically just, got to go here, got to kill the thing. And once I kind of got my feel, I remember putting it down, thinking, I wonder if I'm done. And then it was months before I touched it again.
Mm-hmm. It seemed like they tweaked some of that, too. Medium, what are your thoughts on there?
You were talking about what was the exact focus that you were edging everybody towards? Sorry, I was thinking about the technology and the brain dance.
We're talking about we're talking about like the existentialism and the fact that technology can kind of just overwrite your brain because your brain is hooked up to this thing, and like just the systems of the game.
Yeah, I noticed one thing
and how you're playing it in that.
Yeah. While you were mentioning that just a couple seconds ago about, oh God, what was you? I mean, you literally said the word augmented, and I immediately thought of the recent Deus Ex games and all the, the humans versus those who augment themselves further and further, and how that's seen as losing their humanity kind of thing. And one thing I thought was really good, like those games make it very obvious what their central conflict is, and it's really just two sides. And it's not like it's asking for nuance. It's just saying that that's the two things we want to focus on. Whereas Cyberpunk does, I wouldn't say necessarily a better job, but it has a more kind of, it's not clear like where you're supposed to end up or where you will end up on any of the questions that it's asking, which I think is pretty cool. Like it doesn't seem to have these set objectives that it lays down and goes, okay, I need you to, I'll get you there, but I have a certain place I want to drop you off at. And you can kind of see it in the distance like a Bethesda game, and you go, I'll get there eventually, but I kind of generally know where we're going to land. I thought there was a lot of kind of unexpected textures to the different types. And there's a really specific science fiction to everything too. It's not just like those Deus Ex games where it's, you just have more stuff in you than other people do. And that's, you know, the repulsion scales with how much you have. This is like very specific, like what type of augmentation are you undergoing and what part of your humanity is it perverting or even enhancing?
Yeah.
You know, that was a good part, and I should have probably elaborated more on that. But for me, I thought Deus Ex handled some of that more directly, and I'm struggling to remember, are there any people inside Cyberpunk much that were pure human, unaugmented, anything? Because I felt like almost everybody was.
There were a couple, and one of them was actually, I mentioned in the review, but there was a Ripper Doc who is like totally anti-augmented. He's like a bigot. He's like, I can't stand these guys, but I know how to do it, and I'll take your money. And I tried to find the footage.
Isn't the very first Ripper Doc like that?
No, that's your dude.
Yeah, but like, well, he's not a bigot, but I don't think he's like augmented at all. He doesn't have any mods.
Your guy, he was a former boxer. He's got an arm, a prosthetic arm, and then probably some
really
stuff too.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. I know the one you're talking about. I don't think it was the very first one, but yeah.
All of the names have fallen out of my head, so I can't remember anything.
Sure.
So there's so many people, and that's one of the cool things about it is like this game feels really big because I'm playing Red Faction right now. And those games kind of put you in touch with like 3 other people, period.
Yeah.
So you play a game like Cyberpunk and you're playing, 3 people within the matter of like 10 minutes, and you're just constantly building this cast, and it really makes the city feel really big, even if geographically, physically, it isn't as big as the,
San Andreas. You didn't forget like half of these characters.
Yeah, but they also seem to have more of a vital role, and they're memorable. I mean, in the same way that the game, like this guy, with the guy you meet in the theater who does a deal with you for Netwatch, usually when you're doing the deal with
the Voodoo Boys.
With the Voodoo Boys, absolutely. I don't remember him too much because you only meet him for that conversation, but there's consequences.
But you usually just like hear about them or get a text, but like that's some of the quests do affect how the story goes, but it feels limited at a lot of times.
Yeah, like a lot of open world games will, and but I think the writing alone, like the writing is typically, like people complain about the writing. I really enjoyed it. It really helped me connect with so many of these people.
Yeah.
And again, it just adds that weight to it. Like Johnny, I thought would be a gimmick, but then as you progress through the story and you realize how tied together you are, and you're kind of this captive audience for each other the whole time, because he's in your head and you can't. He's like an itch you can't scratch. A splinter.
He feels like a bit, but then you realize he's like there for all the side quests, for the DLC, for everything. Mm-hmm. So he's really vital.
Yeah, and the fact that like he must have the behind the scenes has him doing some like motion capture, but I imagine he probably did a little bit of it kind of just to set the tone physically, and then they kind of just did the rest in software. But I imagine he did so much voiceover. I said it when I was going over the Phantom Liberty chapter, which is an amazing expansion to that game. I think Keanu Reeves did more content for the expansion than Idris Elba did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's
from
just
what
everywhere.
I remember, I don't think they even got like Idris Elba to come to Poland or anywhere. He recorded all of his lines in London.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is, too, is
Which
that
I
most
believe,
games
sure.
don't make you travel. That's the thing. Most of the stuff is like mailed in, which is not something that they tell you. They always kind of indicate, like, it's just like movies come into the studio wherever we've got.
Unless you're Kojima.
Right. Well, I mean, he's got enough money to throw around, or it's probably like a destination, like come over to my crazy hang and we can see all my, cool collectibles and geek out. But I was surprised at how many.
I feel like CD Projekt Red has the money to like
the context of your home.
Get a big as fucking. Like, I feel that CD Projekt Red would be able to like bring that sort of a guy in. They have the money.
Mm-hmm. For
well,
sure.
and I think like the distance between London and Poland is like from one side of Texas to the other. So I mean,
it just feels like Idris Elba is in everything now. So
yeah,
it's natural he's here too. But he was alright. He was surprisingly good.
He was a subdued character, like a really subdued character in here.
But he ended up being interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that having seen the cinematic cutscene, which is not in the game, where he's basically killed in the train, and then you open up the game and he's like, "Hey, I'm here. What's up?" Yeah, as if nothing happened. It's like, that's freaking weird.
Yeah, I guess that's just world building.
Yeah, or
it was a good ass trailer though.
It was amazing. Yeah. And again, that expansion really freaking good. I really enjoyed it. I really felt
Keanu improved.
I felt really bad for So-Mi, as we're like, we're gonna take her south of the border and try and fix her up, and that ending was like, nope, it's not how it works. So, what are some other highlights of a game? This wonderful Cyberpunk game. Did you ever come back to it, Baldy, even after this review, or were there parts of the review where you're like, yo, that looks pretty cool. I wish I'd gotten to play that part.
Well, honestly, watching your review, was like, oh, you know what? I should reload this. And I made the questionable choice of not starting a new one because I've already done that twice, and you can't skip the obligatory cutscenes at the beginning. And I know that some of those prompts to Jackie when you're driving past the cops, so it's like none of it really alters. It doesn't make any choice, right? I wish they would say, here, we'll start you 2 hours in or something. So I loaded up where I was and kind of ran around and saw that they had retweaked the skill trees. They had adjusted, what was it that I was using? The gorilla arms or something were better. So I liked it. I liked driving around. I loved the way it all looked. Like most kids that grew up in the 80s, daydreamed about flying cars and the neon aesthetic everywhere and all the Blade Runner style stuff. So I still think it holds up and looks great. It just didn't deliver quite everything they said. But even all that said, talking with y'all now makes me think I probably need to go check out that DLC at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Did y'all start new characters for it, or did y'all play your existing ones?
I don't know. My old one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it caps at 60, so it's like, you're not New Game Plusing it, and I think someone asked for like a New Game Plus, or I don't know, or just a level cap expansion so you can. But by the time I hit 60, I had all of the stuff that I really needed, even though there was stuff outstanding that I didn't end up going with. So
you get crazy powerful at the end, like the best gorilla arms and like all of those weapons that you can get. Yeah.
And the blades.
I had a shotgun that stuff. Like I think it, if I shot a guy that was like, I probably would have to shoot him like 12 times with my pistol. The shotgun just like killed him instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 12 pellets, each one of them doing like several hundred damage or something. Yeah.
That's good though. I feel like that's appropriate for that world and style of game. If you went all the way through it, I would want to feel that powerful.
Oh, I do like that feeling. Yeah.
Good. Very good.
Absolutely. Medium, what's your update? What you've been playing with that recently? Or have you? Really?
I played it back in 2022. Like I got it in 2020 when it came out, but I didn't actually have a Xbox at the time. I had sold my Xbox One in preparation for the Series X being actually purchasable that holiday season. So didn't have anything. And then, of course, we had huge delays on getting the Series X. So it took me 2 years to get that Series X to actually play it. And by that time, it played really well. Just basically how it felt to play was great. And I had a couple crashes, weird stuff like my weapon would disappear and sometimes trash bags and alleys would jump around a lot. Just weird stuff like that. But
just
yeah,
like
it was
physics glitches.
Yeah, just goofy stuff like little poltergeist activity. So it was never like, oh, this game, I can't believe it. And I was never under the impression. And maybe they had fixed enough to where it was dissimilar enough from what people's original angst was about. The crowds don't make sense in the city, and everybody looks like they're just doing NPC stuff. Nothing looks real. And I was like, I didn't give a damn what anybody around me was doing. I never was like stopping and going, what? Like this is so immersive.
Yeah.
I was just like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I thought
that was an issue that Baldy had too.
I never got that impression. I never felt like they were noticeable enough. Like there's so many people around you too. Like the NPC
at all times
is so high. And maybe that's what the difference was. Maybe it was like there was so few in the world or something and that people were noticing them doing odd things more often. But I never had that problem. So it played pretty well. I haven't actually played Phantom Liberty, but I do have it loaded on my console right now just for that very purpose, to replay the game and then jump into that. So
you should.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Like Idris Elba's always been a favorite of mine, and then him coming together with my other bro Keanu and everybody else, just the general quality of what the main game is like, and hearing it's better in a lot of ways, I was like, yeah, I think I'm in.
Yeah, you should really come back to it. I think it's spectacular, and as I just like the numbers flying out of people's heads when you shoot at them. That's pretty cool. It is, yeah.
Very Borderlands.
And then the issues with the bosses and having to fight them in particular ways was a pain in the butt. But someone was like, "I think that's a skill issue, bruh." Someone did report afterward that you can change your quick hacks, not in combat, but like kind of in the interstitial periods. I thought you had to go to Ripperdoc. But the way that they kind of hide where the quick hacks are on your person, it didn't click. And I don't think the game tutorializes that very well. There are subsystems of this game where it's like, I wish that had been surfaced more, but then you wonder how is that supposed to be surfaced differently, because there's so much going on in here. So
right. Yeah, I felt like hacking was something I had like no experience with. It felt like cool, but you had to like really go try and make it interesting and really engage with it to make it good as well as fun, or to like realize the fun of the systems.
It was really simple though.
It was simple. It was like, I thought it was fun, but I was just, for the longest time, I was really confused about, when you play a game like Deus Ex and you hack something, it is to do a discrete thing, to access a discrete terminal, to do discrete stuff. But in here, you just like, hey, you got some like currency. It's like, what? Why did I hack this? I don't get it.
Yeah, like all of the stuff that you actually need to hack in missions, it's like a single click. You don't even have to have any skill points in the hacking.
Yeah.
It's always like a yellow prompt thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone had left a comment about, it was like not needing no, that was another game. Starfield. Yeah, Starfield, that was a game. Oh, PP. That thing that says PP. Okay.
Yeah, I just saw that.
I did.
PP.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Anyway, also the game is gorgeous. So just like, wow.
Yeah, this has been very distracting the entire
big
time I've been
thing-
talking. I've just been like, "Ugh."
Yeah. Well, for me, and I watched it with my oldest, who's now 19, and Nick and I talked about this at least a little bit. I was just obsessed with how walkable the city was. I was just
Yes.
I was like, man, you could walk anywhere. Originally, you couldn't take the trains. I want to say they added that later, but in the main city, you're walking around and there's like noodle shops and all this stuff to do. I just spent a lot of time walking through, from my apartment, and I loved that there's people everywhere and it felt communal, and it's kind of had that ratty 80s vibe of, hey, it may not be much, but it's home, like you're
Yeah.
seeing on some of these up here now. And then, of course, like this spot here, the guys out in the desert, you have the wind farm stuff or whatnot. So it represented, to your point on how good it looks aesthetically. I think they nailed it. Suburban areas, urban areas, wildernesses, the density. It was just really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Just beginning to end. Because one of the last things I did with the game was I parked on the edge of town in the suburbs and just walked all the way in.
Oh,
And it took
okay.
walked it was like an hour and a half or something. And to get a vibe of how truly walkable it is, and then also how absurdly walkable it is,
Yeah.
because there's so much pedestrian infrastructure and bridges and pedestrian this and pedestrian that.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's people up in there using it thanks to the automated, generated people
Right.
engine. But just I think about how difficult that would be to build in the real world, and it's like, oh my god. But
Yeah.
it makes you feel like this is a hyper dense. I mean, there's this like viral TikTok video of China. There's a city in China where it's like, which level is the ground level? You step out, this is the ground level, but then I take an elevator down and go out this hallway,
Yeah.
5 floors, and then that's ground level. But then I go over here and go up, these 3 ramps, and that's ground level. And then I go up 30 stories in this building, and that's ground level. And that's kind of the vibe I got going around Night City, was just how dense and complex, and there's just so much detail. Like anytime I got into a car and had to go somewhere, it felt like I was skipping over like 9 million man hours of hand placed content. Anytime I did it, it's like it's clear why it took so long to make,
For
why
sure.
it took so long to make, or how much it costs to make, and it's just so much detail in this game. So, any final thoughts before we part from Cyberpunk here? It sounds like a lot of us want to revisit it. I'm glad that I got to play it now versus earlier when everyone else was touching it. Medium, you're lighting up. Go for it.
Yeah, I think I'm just making mouth noises, but yeah, actually watching your Johnny Silver Handshake section not only kind of got me, I was just sort of daydreaming while I was listening to that about something I might actually want to do myself for Cyberpunk, but you made me think about something especially that I think really appeals to, or really highlights why Keanu Reeves is so good as Johnny Silverhand. And a lot of people are going to go, I mean, is Keanu Reeves really the best actor? Why is he in this game? Blah, blah, blah. But I think that video games are like a perfect medium for somebody who's not particularly expressive with their face anyway, which gets on people's nerves when they're, watching them on screen. But I think it's like the absolute perfect thing for a video game, that if they want to juice up his model and make it do all these expressive things, fine. If not, we've been playing games without great motion capture or facial, movements for years. It's no big deal. It's about, the content and the delivery of the voiceover primarily. So I thought that was just like a perfect avenue for Keanu to slide in and kind of like accentuate a part of his skill set that people probably overlook because they're so focused on what he looks like facially in movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he looks like him as Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we saw a little segment here about how all the facial animations are automated via this middleware. So they're not doing facial capture on anyone in this game. It is, they've got the facial model. They've got some, I don't know, whatever data they need to do that. But they just feed the dialogue in, and then this middleware animates faces and expressions and stuff like that.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
No
Yeah. So then they don't have to record
like
because there's so...
but obviously didn't work as well.
Yeah. Nope.
Shkatsky, final thoughts on there?
Refund Starfield, play Cyberpunk.
Okay.
Amazing.
I mean, they're basically the same game. I actually, playing this game made me appreciate just how vanilla Starfield is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny to bring those two games up.
and
They're
how
similar in a lot of ways.
one after the other. Yeah, it was such a contrast.
I love the nightclub comparison.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
All right, let's move. We've got some. We'll pause this here. Not that you're going to care in this final product here. But let's move on to some news. Where's our bumper? I don't have a bumper yet. We'll figure it out.
Fix it in post.
News. 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 Hey.
Breaking news.
Breaking news on the 4Player podcast. The 4Player podcast. God, this is all right. Ars Technica, Xbox hardware revenue down 42%. Let's see what they got here. Again, Ars Technica, Microsoft's revenue from Xbox console sales was down a whopping 42% on a year-over-year basis for the quarter ending in June. Blah, blah, blah. The massive drop continues a long, pronounced slide for sales of Microsoft's gaming hardware. The Xbox line has now shown year-over-year declines in hardware sales revenue in 6 of the last 7 calendar quarters and 7 of the last 9. Microsoft CFO Amy Hood told investors in a follow-up call, as reported by GamesIndustry.biz, to expect hardware sales to decline yet again in the coming fiscal quarter, which ends in September. How many of us here have newer Xboxes? I think it's almost all of us, right?
No, I haven't.
Never had an Xbox.
I haven't done
Okay, so
consoles in
most of us-
forever. The 360 was my last one.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness. So it's
That's
so it's
why I was-
the
all right,
last
so
good
most of
one.
us is me and medium. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you 360 and then Shotzi, you said never had an Xbox. I imagine
Yeah.
the scene over there is a little bit different than it is over here too.
I mean, my best friend used to have an Xbox, and I know some people that own Xboxes, but I think PlayStation is generally a little more, popular in Europe in general.
For sure.
That is as I understand. They've had kind of that foothold.
Yeah. So I don't really have any nostalgia for the product.
Well, that's a shame because I do, and
Too bad.
I just want to improve that. I bought my first Xbox on November 15th, 2001.
Nice.
And
God, you're old.
yeah, I grabbed some cash. I had $400 bills, or maybe it was 5. And I went down and I got the console, and I got Air Force Delta Storm because I'd already bought Halo and Project Gotham Racing 2. And I bought the accessory laptop style bag so I could carry it around. And I was like, here's my money, give me my Xbox. And so Xbox 360, I got those both on launch day, but then the Xbox One, I waited like 6 months until the Titanfall bundle came out, because there was like no games when either of those systems launched. And then with the series, I actually waited, like you, Medium, like 2 years to get it. I got my Series S in March of 22.
Nice.
And I love this console, but it has been less essential because I'm getting old and playing fewer games, except for professional review purposes. And now that they're trying to push the Game Pass thing, which I am also paying for, it's like they're trying to back away from the need to sell loss-making hardware, which is traditionally the model. You sell the hardware at a loss, and then you make up for it in games and services and whatever.
Mhm.
They're trying to get away from just selling any hardware at all. So this seems like, mission failed successfully in their case. But also, who's here on Game Pass?
Everyone?
Yeah.
See, there you go.
Yeah, I'll cut in and out on Game Pass, right? Like I loaded it up last month, played a little bit of stuff here and there, tried Flintlock. It was not for me, canceled it before the month ended. But since I moved to old school PC Master Race, yada yada yada, I just quit with the consoles. I don't need them. Anything I'd rather play is cheaper, and I can mod it on my computer. So even though I still play plenty, even though I'm older, I just don't want to buy new hardware and have to keep up. Because I remember you had the 360, then you had the Slim, then you had to get the extra add-on, hard drive, all that kind of stuff. And so you don't have to worry about that on gaming on PC.
Yeah, but but you didn't have to upgrade to the Slim. It was just,
I had to. Bill Gates called me and said, "Hey, listen, we got a problem with you." So,
hey there, Mr. Baldy, I'm Mr. Bill Gates here, and you have to buy my new upgraded Xbox console hardware.
that was it.
Bill, is that you?
Yeah, I said malaria is a big problem worldwide, but he'd call me that later.
Yeah, I'm buying half of Montana so that I can control all of the wheat production, but I didn't say that out loud. Anyway,
Is he buying the Epstein Island?
God.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this, right? Because I worked for years in education, and I was talking to my daughters about their friends, and it seems to me in general that the younger ranges just don't buy consoles. There's a handful of boys that were still real big into the sports games or some of the shooters, but I didn't see nearly like when I was growing up. Everybody had a Nintendo, boys and girls alike. And right now, if the younger guys are playing anything, it seems to be on their phones. Some of them on a computer or a Switch. So I was wondering how much of that would be a factor into some of these sales too.
You bring up a good point, because I am no longer young about what the kids are doing. And I know that like phones have definitely evolved as a device to play games on. And as an old man who plays games on his phone, those are there are distinct experiences. Like, I'm not playing Cyberpunk on my phone, period.
But you can play Resident Evil 4 remake.
No. Can you really? Oh goodness!
On the iPhone, and on apparently they sold like 2,000 copies.
Yeah,
like
apparently
abysmal.
It works really well on the new iPad thing.
Yeah, on the new M3 and M4 chips, like
M4,
they just port new gen console games straight over with like it losing very little fidelity. But it in my mind, I mean, you can't even play Fortnite on phones anymore. So like, where are they playing Fortnite?
You can't?
They pulled it from the stores. They sued Apple and Google. So they're like, we're getting our shit off of here, and you're gonna have to deal with it.
Didn't Apple like lose though?
I think so.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like
someone correct me in the comments. It's fine.
Yeah, like the whole thing why they are allowing the emulation scene to have their apps on the App Store is because they like lost a case in the European Union or maybe in the States.
Yeah, your European Union cracking down on big corporations. What's your problem, dude?
We're trying.
We just don't want
I feel like it's a combination of factors, but Nick, like you were saying initially, do you believe the general model that we've seen industry-wide for a lot of this is you're going to rent the media? You won't own much of anything. You're going to pay for access to games and songs and movies. And if these companies can get out of having to print a physical CD in a physical box with a physical manual, that's what they're going to do, because that saves them money, and it kind of makes us beholden to them for a subscription model.
Right. The
subscribe to Game Pass.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I talk about it all the time. Like, I'm constantly saying it over and over again in a loop, and I have to be rebooted. But I have not bought a physical game to put in a drive in something like 12 years or 11 years now. And the last one it was like Star Trek, the movie, the game on Xbox 360.
Yeah, I can't remember the last one I would have bought. Probably a used 360 game ages ago, but no.
Does the S have a disk drive?
No,
Nope.
it
Oh,
doesn't,
that's what
which
I was
is
thinking.
like totally augments my grand plans and desires to never deal with the disc ever again. And I know there are people
I
who
like discs.
okay.
I don't mind.
Yeah, I mean they spin
Oh.
right round,
Yeah.
but
like a record.
not yeah, right round.
Yeah.
But
And again,
Like they remind you that you spent money on something.
Yeah.
And like on Steam, it's you click buy and then you like I forget about most games I buy.
right.
I do that
Yeah.
with discs too because it's like, oh, I want to play a video game. Oh, I got to open that big freaking wallet with all the discs in it and pull it out and insert it and wait for it to load.
So
And then when I'm
heavy.
done, and then I get 5 minutes in and I've forgotten how to play the game. So it's like I don't
you
even
can
want to
touch
play
it.
this.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
want to touch
tactile.
it, Skarsky. I don't want to touch it. Okay.
I do. I miss that. But then again,
I like touching games.
I'm old enough to remember renting a Nintendo game and reading the instruction manual on the way home from the movie store.
Hell yeah.
So
That's-
for me, that again, I miss that. I do. When I bought, I guess Skyrim, it came with a map that you could unfold and pin to the wall or whatnot. I do miss that stuff. I really do.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
in terms of convenience, it's really hard to deny that right now you can just, double click a thing, assuming that it's installed the patch, even though you've pre-installed it before launch and all that junk.
The release version of The Witcher in here had like 4 boxes, I think, and 6 discs.
Really?
And you had like a disc with a game, a making of, a soundtrack, some sort of a bonus disc. You had a printed out game guide. You had an instruction set. It was fucking huge. And then they released the enhanced edition. And for the people that didn't, want to buy the game a second time, they released a physical upgrade. So it was basically only the file with the patch to upgrade the game to the enhanced edition, sold in like another box that you could like put the old boxes into. That was fucking crazy. One of the best box sets I ever had.
I mean,
I love that game, by the way.
reminds me of, StarCraft 2 when it originally came out because they spent like 20 billion years between the three campaigns.
I had that
and
too.
It fell off. But when Wings of Liberty came out, I bought the big freaking box and I loved it because it also came with the comic.
It was
Came with the USB
huge.
flash drive, and it's like that was peak things to physically own.
Yeah.
And then by the time the Zerg campaign, much less the Protoss one, came out, I was like, I don't want all this junk. Like this is so much. And with Xbox banking on this, like, yeah, there's this nostalgia for the physical. It's going to the rental store and they've got like some of the save codes in the notes in the back of the manual.
Yes.
And stuff like that. But this idea, Jeff Gershman actually, someone had asked him about this. People, there are a lot of people who defend physical media because you quote unquote own it, but then that's also kind of a defense against, what if it gets delisted from a store?
Yeah.
But that's not how games work now anyway, because even if the full game was on there, and it didn't need patch. Modern games, yeah, exactly. They can pull the servers down and then the game still doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you can have this physical disc. That ship has sailed. Like, we're done. You're not it's not like I can play the gold cartridge Link, Legend of Zelda 2 and play that forever so long until the electron paths die or the battery dies, or I don't even know if it had a battery. But the modern games, even if you buy the physical release, that's still only part of the game. You're still going to need the new patch. You're still going to need some server connectivity.
The origin of that, like, that seems like a recent thing, like that they've baked into the user agreements and stuff like that. It seems
like just the authentication,
as opposed to just
that's recent.
Like, we just don't want to spend as much. I don't remember that ever being something that we're like, holy shit, I looked into the code and this is what I found. We don't actually own anything and never have.
Well, I mean,
like, wasn't the first big controversy that was tied to Steam the fact that you didn't actually own the game that you bought on Steam? Like, that was... I remember not having a Steam account for years because I was like, I will not own games anymore. I don't want to do that. And, I was like,
Now, is that baked
11.
into their legalese, or was it just the fact that
like
the
if you
servers were not
read the terms of service, you're not buying a game. You're like you're renting. Yeah, you're licensing the access to the files on their server, but it's up to them if the files are there or not. So, it's only their goodwill that you can still download Alpha Protocol or
Yeah,
that's
Spec
goodwill or
Ops The
not.
Line. Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like kind of a honey trap.
It's up to them.
You'll love it.
No. I mean,
No, I mean, then that's not even games. That's like going further back. You'd see when you were growing up and you'd have your VHS copies of movies. It's like the first thing you'd see, there'd be this boilerplate of this movie is for private home viewing only. You're not going to be like showing this to a room of,
Yep.
people as part of, you're not going to be able to charge people for it.
Written consent of the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. And so someone called that out one time when we were watching a movie in class, and it's like, whatever, who cares? But yeah, you never owned the movies you bought. You were just licensing the ability to view it via a recorded medium. Same with music. Like I think that was like core to the Napster thing. Is like you don't own the music. The company owns the music. You just get a copy of it that you can use for very specific reasons.
Right.
And people are like, I own this Xbox. I should be able to alter all the bits inside to whatever I want it to do, and it's like, and that's kind of
what
the DMCA
saddens
was supposed
me?
to cover.
Like, it's nothing new because, physical DRM is something that existed for decades.
Yeah.
But like, it made me really sad when I realized that like 4K Blu-ray discs can't be actually, slotted into anything. Like, you can only use a 4K Blu-ray drive on a specific piece of hardware that's not only licensed but specifically made to, to play those. Like, if you buy like one of those USB 4K Blu-ray drives that you can, kind of connect to your PC via USB or just slot into your computer, if you can still do that, because most PC cases don't even have a space for that anymore. You can't play it because it has to, go into a proper 4K Blu-ray player, and it's like, you buy a movie and you can't even watch it if you don't have the device that is able to play it. So of course you have consoles, and consoles can do that, but there are more and more consoles that don't have disc drives too. So that sucks.
My gaming rig didn't have it. The girls had asked me about burning CDs again because everything old is new, and I was like, I have an external drive. I got to remember if it would still burn a CD, But now they're into that. So, the record phase for a while was there, but my girls just got, my middle one loves Taylor Swift, got a few of her albums on CD, and now she's just thrilled because, it's so different. But now I got to figure out where to get a CD player.
And see, I
had to burn in my dissertation on CD like last year for my diploma, and that was like required. It was like, you have to do it, and it has to be CD. It can't be DVD or anything else. So I had to actually
it into clay as a backup just in case.
yeah.
Get the
I had to.
form?
Yeah, I had to tattoo it on my face.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah, I skipped that era of the burned CDs thing, like, because that was a very brief window where people were making CDs because they were downloading MP3s, but they didn't have anything to put those MP3s or play them back. So you burn them to a CD. Put them in a CD player that could read the MP3s, but I just kind of went straight to the MP3 player, even though I could only put my 5 favorite songs on there. But yeah, I realized that was really important to people. Medium, you had something you were going to pop up there. You want to wax nostalgia about Taylor Swift and early CD releases?
Going on Napster.
Talking about Taylor Swift, she's in here.
She was in Warsaw the other day, and then a moment of observation. Yeah, I was trying to.
Yeah, and it's like, it's complete chaos. Like, the center of town is paralyzed because of this, and like
Really?
yeah,
What?
and the tickets are like
Oh,
I don't know,
Yeah,
yeah, $3,000 or something like that.
that's crazy.
Huh.
That is
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
too much.
yeah.
So how many
Yeah.
tickets did you get? 2, 3?
oh,
Yeah.
$1 million.
Right? We're gonna
Just
Yeah,
pirating
so
Taylor
next,
Swift
yeah.
Yeah.
tickets.
Do it.
Ah.
Yeah.
Make a cool 50.
No, I didn't even hear a song by her until like yesterday. So
God, you're
Okay.
so lucky. How did you do that?
that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
a lucky man.
He's around the world. He can avoid.
I don't
Taylor
know.
Swift.
She's pretty big. She's like
Um,
she's like that thing at the end of Evangelion where she's just like over the world. Like
Speaking of over the world, Xbox sales declining. Hang on, what is it? They're trying to put a bright spot on that. Given the cratering Xbox hardware revenues, it's not all that surprising that Microsoft is focusing on. It's now more expensive. Yes, Game Pass went up.
Yeah.
Subscription side to buoy the business as a whole, which makes sense. This kind of talk suggests that the Xbox brand will continue to thrive through Game Pass. They just unveiled their partnership with the Fire Stick, Amazon's Fire Stick, so you can do the cloud. So you have to still buy a controller and pair it to it, but you can get Game Pass through
And-
Amazon Fire Stick now.
And didn't they recently kill the marketplace too, or something else like that?
Yes, good point.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you, because we didn't write
Yeah.
that down. Yeah.
360, right.
So I'm reviewing. Yeah. So what did you guys buy?
Let's see.
I didn't buy anything.
I bought
Nothing. I see. Okay.
the Arkham game is like a 2.5D side scroller sequel to Arkham Origins. It's like
Okay.
Blackgate, I think is what it was called.
Cool.
So Arkham Blackgate or whatever the name
Oh,
is.
yeah.
At Warhammer 40K Space Marine, because that was the cheapest you can find that game anywhere. Digitally. Let's see. I got 1, 2. I think I bought Remember Me, that old Don't Nod game.
Yeah.
1 or 2 other things. Oh, Arcania, Gothic 4-ish, and like 1 or 2 other
Yeah.
things. Just some weird stuff I found. Oh, and Kane and Lynch 2, I think, or Kane and Lynch 1.
Oh, dope.
You didn't buy
that's
Bloodshot?
great.
Yeah, there's one of them. I mean, I already own that on disc, but I've owned that forever.
Balti,
Anyway.
did you dig into the 360 marketplace?
I did originally. I was obsessed with what would they call in their version of the Me? Was it just an avatar?
Yes, it was
Yeah.
the Xbox avatars. Yeah.
Okay, so I liked any game that gave you a free shirt or something that was really cheap. Like I remember Gears of War, I want to say 3 was coming out, and there was
Mhm.
that guy Carmine who died in every game or something, and they're like, well, how do you want to vote? You could vote this way or that, and then buy like a $1 shirt and it went to charity or something like that. I liked that stuff. That gave me that reason to log in and see what was new. But once I moved away from it, I never thought about it again until I saw this article that they were getting rid of it.
I'm playing Red Faction. I bought every single game, except for Gorilla. I already own that, and I decided to play Armageddon and Battlegrounds on the 360, not realizing as I bought them that the store would be closing in like less than a week. It's kind of like when you go into a shop and it's like, we're closing in 45 minutes. It's like, oh, well, I better go take care of my business then. And so I did. So now I even put in a line in the review. It's like, I did it, but you can't now. So there.
Yeah.
The Nth Review exclusive. So yeah, that was effectively the last digital content I bought on the 360 marketplace. And on the subreddit, they've been counting down forever. They're like, oh, what should I buy? Well, like, what should I really own before it's gone forever? And I mean, there were some good picks in there, but I don't know. I don't need to own more games at this point. I've got so many.
Dude, I tell myself
Which goes back to that
Way
physical.
too many.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
I like way too many types of games anyway, and like I'll try out at like every 7 out of 10 just because I want to hit that little like sweet spot that keeps it from being a 5, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's too many things that light my fire, I guess.
Well, after seeing Medium's take on, what was it, Industria, I realized I had that one. I grabbed free through EA at some point. You know, every now and then they're like, hey, this is free for 24 hours. Just add it. You don't even have to download it. So I was bored looking through there, and I wouldn't have tried that had it not been for your review. And so I was like, all right, let's give this a shot. Like you're saying, if it's a 7, I can live with that. It's just more like, give me a little bit of something to play, and then I'm like, oh, it's for free. And then, I'm not out anything major.
Yep.
We need more 7s.
Dude,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah.
Sometime over here, I'll be playing those. I was playing Elix or something, and I learned there's a whole genre called Eurojank. I don't know if that's
It's a
well known or not.
genre.
But
It's just anything.
Welcome, friend.
yeah. So I'm like, and then I started Googling.
That's like all we play in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that made it
Over here, it's just called Jank.
Like that's a
You just call them games,
right. It's not
I was gonna
jank,
say, is it
it's
just
every
jank for
60
you?
Standard.
Right.
So it has
Yep.
some bugs. What are you talking about? You play games that don't have bugs?
Yeah, I'll tell you the one.
I mean, the release version of The Witcher was very janky, so
Well, I'll mention one thing since we were kind of talking about the end of the Xbox thing. What was the deal with the PS5 Pro? Like they're talking about releasing and all this.
I think
any of y'all up on that?
Mm-mm.
a little bit.
Yeah, we can bring up this article too. But who's really going hard for the PS5 Pro?
I mean, I'm not really all that interested in buying it because I don't feel like my PS5 is old enough to like being replaced. But apparently, Sony wants my money again.
What did we get? Did any of us in here pick up the mid-generation refreshes last time around, like the PS4 Pro or the
I did.
or the Xbox One X or what? Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Xbox
I think
One
I
X.
stopped on PS3. I got a PS3 and the Twisted Metal Black or something, and I was like, "This is good," but it's kind of moving away from what I want to be playing. And then once they started putting like, what is it, Nathan Drake or whichever those are, they started finally putting those on PC. So I was like, done. That's why I was curious
Right.
to see what y'all were thinking
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah. I've got my there are some really just dastardly Xbox fans that are like, they have to get rid of the Series S. It's holding back the entire potential of the Xbox platform is by having
In a way,
different
it does.
performance points.
Sony.
And I have to beat the Sony. I don't get it because games in the past like 15, 20 years have grown so similarly that, when you're going from console to console now, it's kind of like when you upgrade your phone at this point, is you're not getting a billion more features, you're just getting a couple more features, but the old stuff works a little better.
Yeah, it's incremental updates, almost like the new Call of Duty or Madden games. It's kind of like it's everything from last year, plus now we have Burgundy.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so frustrated about AAA games. And so when they were doing the half-step consoles, the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, I think it was born out of this fear of this generation could go on too long. We need a performance bump to, like, I don't know, do more pixels. And this time around, it seems like even less important if developers or gamers are like, we don't need you to bump up the price again for slightly better CPU and slightly better GPU and maybe a little bit more RAM so that we can run in 1440p instead of 1080p. Or here's
I mean,
a little
it
bit of ray
makes sense
tracing.
for Sony. Like they're an entertainment company. They're an electronics company. They sell TVs, they sell cameras, they make movies. So, it's like they make a movie, they want you to go to the theater and then buy it on DVD or I don't know, just watch it on on streaming on their TV, and they want you to buy their device to watch that movie. So it's obvious that they will try and make the console put out more pixels and nicer fire effects or something like that, just to sell more TVs and shit like that. But then from what I think PlayStation is like the biggest segment of Sony right now. So like
Certainly
it's
the most
crucial.
profitable.
Yeah, it's like I think it's the biggest one. So it's crucial for them to to keep on making money on it.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
I'm not sure if they will, get a lot of people to buy the PS5 Pro unless they'll like scale back on the regular PS5 like a lot. But I don't see that happening too.
What's the
If
deal
they sold them
with
side
these-
by side like you would with an iPad, right?
Yeah.
Medium.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that we keep seeing these mid-generation sort of refreshes, like in case you want a little bit more
Mhm.
out of it, and then they complain that they're always selling them at a loss. It's like it can't matter that much if you're willing to just keep making these frivolous
That's a good
like,
point.
8
That's a
pixel
good point.
upgrades in the middle of everything. Like there must be either enough suckers out there, or I say
Sorry,
suckers.
dogs.
I mean, if you want to spend that much, you can. It's nothing wrong with that, but
Sure.
there must be either enough
for me,
demand.
I mean,
to
it-
think that they can
smaller.
get there, or that it's sort of like a. I don't want to be too dramatic, but it's got to be at least a little bit of a psyop to sort of keep just gradually turning the volume up, if you will, or turning the slider up on stuff to just kind of keep going. You sure? Why would you not want more? Why would you not want better? Like I don't.
Right.
It seems like such a simple thing that anybody could see through, but like there has to be something a little bit more psychological there than just like they worry about money, because there's the money is they're lying about how much they lose, which I don't think they really are, or there has to be some like long term like we can string people along for every nickel and dime just based on the fact that it is objectively technically better, because who has an 8K TV or whatever other weird PS5 Pro features that they're harping on, or and like all these features are rumored anyway. It's not even like we know what it's going to have. I think we might know what it looks like at best. right?
Yeah. Well, and
No, I don't think we do.
the only example, and again, this is going back to the research I was doing with the Red Faction. There was that tech demo that Microsoft did with the Crackdown 3 that people thought was going to ship, and it didn't because it
Wow.
was impractical. Because of course it was. They had this demo? I think it was at in Gamescom.
Yeah.
They're showing off this multiplayer map where you're blowing up huge chunks of the city and buildings are falling realistically and stuff like
And
that.
that was very impressive.
It was very impressive, but at the same time, they're showing like we're spinning up 15 to 20 servers to calculate all of these physics and then send it back
It
to
would
you. And it's
never
like,
work.
It would unless at incredible expense. Like you're tying up 20 consoles for a multiplayer match just to make the. I mean, that'd be so fun. Like that, I really wanted to play that. But
But do you
can
remember when it
consoles
finally
do?
came out?
Yeah, and it was like nothing. It was more
Yeah.
like Gorilla was.
Yeah.
Really, just in terms of the fidelity of the damage in that. But it's like, what can consoles do anymore as a standalone piece of hardware? That
I mean, I think
worth it.
there's lots they could do, but we're obviously limited by what the market wants. So if the market wants, shooters, sports games, and everything to look the same, then all they can do is squeeze out more pixels and like make more detailed characters. But if if the general idea behind making bigger games, not I'm not talking about AAA games or stuff like that, but if it would shift to like pursuing something that's actually maybe not new, because I have no idea if that's possible, but at least tries to do things that weren't done before, then maybe there would be a reason different than just we need to sell more and make the number go up.
Yeah, and only first party games are really going to take full advantage of this hardware because it's so difficult to really take advantage of every single pipeline and every single bit and stuff like that. So
that's why I bought a Steam Deck.
And I want one too, but I keep like, no, but I'll never play it. The other thing with these half steps is the price doesn't come down either. Gee, my goodness, the dog's laid up every time something happens. The consoles used to come down to like $100.
Yeah.
And I remember back in 2004 or something, PlayStation's like, we sold 60% of all of our consoles ever once they hit the $99.99 point. And because they keep doing this iterative well, we're giving you 1 billion more pixels per second that you can't even see because they're all transparent. You know, they're keeping the prices artificially high. That was one of the big announcements out of the E3 at Microsoft's thing was they're bringing out 3 new SKUs.
Yeah.
And the Series X is the exact same price. It was like the exact same price for the exact same storage. It was the middle console, and it just didn't have a disk drive, something like that. And they're charging the same amount of money for it.
On that one, for me, when I first got
sense.
my PS2, that was the first DVD player I ever had.
Sure.
And it doubled as that. When I got my PS3, that was the first Blu-ray player. And at first, when I first got to streaming Netflix, I had a disc to put in the Wii that allowed it to do it. And then once the PlayStation 3 could do it, that was almost all we did with it was Blu-ray and Netflix. And so now you're looking at all this tech that's in anybody's house. Almost everything can stream Netflix or Disney or Amazon.
Yeah.
And if anybody is still doing a physical media, they probably have a dedicated machine for that. So it's no like for a lot of people, I think PlayStation got that toehold in their house by being something that could play and stream at high quality. Now that's no longer a point. It's no longer a point in favor. How else can they differentiate themselves from any of the other consoles?
Especially since AMD's designing the hardware to be almost identical in both consoles anyway. So it's like, and I remember the PS3 came out, it was that much more, but no one, compared to DVDs, no one cared about Blu-rays, and if they were buying exclusively Blu-ray, so no one was buying games for it. I mean, the same thing happened with the PSP. It was this game machine, then they would do they would do movies for them in that UMD, guitar pick format, and then people were like, no, we can just download them from our computers to the memory inside, just buy a bigger memory stick at extreme expense, because it was the proprietary memory sticks, and we're just using it as a media player. And like, that's good for Sony as a brand, but then they're no one's buying games for it.
I mean, our internet speeds got so fast that they outpaced the constant growth of file sizes. So that's probably why.
Yeah.
We don't really buy discs anymore and get discs anymore.
What I'm hearing is that everyone has a PS5 Pro pre-ordered right now from your local GameStop. Brief, because I didn't put in here, really brief message. Game Informer has closed after 33 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, breaking news. Breaking news. Terrible accident at the Games Journalism Factory. Yeah. I don't know if you guys did you guys ever read Game Informer? Did you get it shipped to you after you signed up for the GameStop All Rewards program?
Exactly. Yeah, I went through a couple of phases of it. I loved getting game magazines. After the original Nintendo Power, my favorite was EGM for a long time, because I felt like it was the big kid version of Nintendo Power. And then once I got Game Informer, I was like, oh, this was real cool. And I don't remember the last one I bought, but I assume it would have been around the same time I quit fooling with the physical media.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
kind of on and off because I never worked.
GameStop
I never
Pro.
went to GameStop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Medium. What was your love affair with Game Informer, if you can call it that?
First off, let me just apologize that all my sentences start in the middle of y'all's because of the lag. I realize I don't light up until I'm in the middle of your sentences, and then you just have to stop and go, oh, what? Sorry. Yeah, I've had a lot of lag problems for whatever reason. I think it's because I'm on an extender. I'm all the way on the other side of the house.
I got it.
But I used to like just froth at the mouth. I was like, what is this month's issue going to come in the mail? And then I got kind of sad because I was like, I know I put myself down for a physical copy. And I looked it up and I got an email like, hey, we don't actually do physical copies anymore. I hope you enjoy your digital version. And if there's granted, books are a lot different than just getting a physical disc, but like if there's ever an argument for physical media being way more tactily interesting and engaging, it would be that, because I was like, I think I looked at it once or twice when it became digital only in the past year. And now it's like totally gone. So it's just sort of like, well, okay.
Yeah. How was the digital? I never got to try it. Do you think it was decent, all things considered?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't like I was sitting there like, "Oh, this is the worst interface." It just doesn't have the same. Like, I can't skip ahead
Was
as
it just a
fast.
PDF?
Yeah, pretty much. Just like like if you're on Internet Archive or something, and you just have like
I remember,
printed pages.
yeah,
up there
because
you
I
can
used
click
to look
through.
at the. Sorry, I'm messing up your delay, and I'm just trampling all over you. I used to look at the issues of that before work, way back in like 2002 or so. I had a long commute. I'd wake up, get breakfast, and kind of flip through a page or two of Game Informer just to know what was going on. I can't imagine being able to do something similar online, but that might just be my generation and era.
My flirtation with the magazine was my roommate got it, and they gave Need for Speed Underground, I think it was, best racing game of the year over PGR2, and I threw that in the trash and never looked back. So yeah, but I know they were they sold like 8 million issues a month at their peak, and it was that's an absurd amount of copies, even though they were like given away for free essentially as part of your GameStop something or another that you did.
Yeah.
And they got so many cover stories, and people thought that they paid for them, and it turns out not really. They were just like, if you're going to unveil your new game, you go get a cover story with Game Informer. So I don't like seeing the collapse of journalism, and I certainly don't like seeing the collapse of games journalism. So this is a bummer to me, even if I thought their opinions were trash sometimes.
Sure.
So, but that's true of every magazine. So pour one out. We're kind of buttoned up against time here. Let's get to our bonus item of the period of time that this is. Is anyone watching the Olympics? And did you ever play any Olympic-based games, track and field, etc.? I will kick this off really quick. I am not watching the Olympics because I don't, and I don't. I played Epic Summer Games. No, it was Winter Games back on the Atari ST. That's my experience.
Well,
Aldi, did you have one?
Yeah, I'll go. I keep loose tabs on it, right? Like I got women's soccer up on the other monitor right now, and it's just going to a shootout. And I like to keep an eye on it, but only if I can watch it unobstructed without getting into all the other stuff. Like I feel like in America, every other minute is a commercial, and then they come back to this year's heartwarming story, and not just here's all the stuff. So
Right.
I like the idea of it. And I'll come back to the game part in a minute. I want to see if Medium is a fan. Do you watch it Medium, or is it just kind of like a thing you keep up with?
It's awkward too because I haven't paid for TV in so long that it's really hard to keep up with it for real.
Yeah.
For real.
Are you stealing cable again, Medium?
No, I am TV.
What a
celibate.
thief.
I just stream.
Yeah.
You don't own the TV that you get. You're just licensing it.
That's right. They could take it off the servers.
Kicks can. Yeah, I've been keeping up with the basketball because that's just what I've been kind of revisiting or rediscovering over the past couple of years because I used to play and just watch feverishly, for years and years, for like 20 years or something, and then kind of got out of it just because it was just so much to keep track of. You eventually kind of dissociate from it. Got into it recently, and it's been super fun to just kind of reconnect with that from my childhood. So definitely the basketball, but I've also always been a fan of. For obvious reasons too, but also because they're really cool activities. The volleyball, the gymnastics. You can get me to watch ice skating. That's really because it was like my mom's thing. Used to watch a lot of that. So that's cool, but that's a different, Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
What else?
Mom always loved figure skating.
Yeah, mine too. Maybe that's why I don't like it. It's like Mom always watched that. I'm like, no.
Yeah, we were watching it in '94 when we were in Lillehammer, and there was the whole Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan thing.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah,
definitely a 90s
and then I
thing for
realized
sure.
later that was like one of the first times that they ever shot HD footage ever. So here you're looking at this like 1080i video from 1994, and it's like, oh my. Skotsky, what are the Olympics like over there? Do you get to dip in any? Have you ever play any of those? Like, what is it like culturally over there?
It's kind of important. Like we have our contestants and stuff like that. So there are lots of sports celebrities in here that went to the Olympics. And as to games, there was this one ski jumping game that I remember everybody played in primary school. That every break room had an old PC that somehow was able to run that thing, and we just ended up in a situation where we had one of the best ski jumpers in that period of time, in the world. So that was probably why, and it is usually like that in Poland. If we have a person that's really good at a sport, then everyone in here suddenly becomes a fan and knows everything about it, and it's it's all smoke and mirrors, and it's people pretending to know shit about stuff they probably don't know shit about. So as to watching the Olympics, I have a Max subscription, so we get Eurosport in here, and it's live, so I actually am able to watch some of the Olympics, but the only stuff I watched were some of the matches of our tennis player Iga Świątek, and that's probably all I have to say about the Olympics. It's important in here, but
Yeah.
So over there,
not
do you just
for
call
me.
Eurosport sport?
Yep. That's it.
No, we call it Eurosport.
Oh.
Okay.
On the game front, I vividly remember Track and Field 2, which came out in 1989, and it's by Konami, and it looks and feels pretty solid back then. But I mean, you did high dive, fencing, hurdles, hammer throw, everything. And I don't know why, but we were so ate up with it, and we would always try to come up with new ways. It was a typical, hey, you want to run fast? Alternate between A and B. And so, we'd be sitting there. One of my friends had this little trick. He would
Until you get
balance.
calluses.
Yeah, well, he would balance I'm doing this, holding this up to the microphone so you can see through your microphone. He would balance a pencil over his middle finger, and then alternate with his left as his index and his ring finger, and it kind of like a seesaw, right? He would put something small in there and go like that, and nobody could beat him. So to me, that to this day is what I think about it on a Olympic or track and field or some type of video game. All of us playing those kind of games in our
Very
rooms in the
convenient.
hot early years of the 90s. That's what always comes to mind.
That sounds. I was watching Carl Jobst, who does the speed running in that, and he mentioned that is. I can't remember exactly what he called it, but it's like a tremor tap or something like that, where you're not engaged with the buttons directly, but you kind of just let your fingers just tremor, really fidget,
okay.
and that's what allows you to get really fast inputs, because it's not anything specific. You're just pressing the buttons as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And I remember having to do something like that with Dead to Rights back in the day, because that's the only way I could beat the weightlifting minigame in prison. So that was a really
So it's kind of like drummers that barely even touch the stick when they are going really fast, right?
Right. Instead of pounding it and then lifting it up, you're triggering it and then already moving away.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're flipping it and looking like a doofus and doing all those tricks and stuff like that too. That might just be the show off people.
I remember a while back. What year did they do that? Was it Sonic and Mario at the Olympics or something?
I was going to bring up, I haven't been hearing any Sonic and Mario at the Olympic Games, so it sounds like we're all just too old.
I don't remember that one. I mean, I remember when it came out, and I was like, I don't want to play a Sonic Olympic game. I would play, I'd fire up a real game with, real looking people or something, but I don't think I would. Did any of y'all ever play that one?
No. Didn't
No?
have a Wii.
Yeah.
I had one for half a year.
Yeah. Didn't play any of those. Did you?
Nope.
No.
Oh,
Never saw them.
well, sounds like we need to do the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games retrospective then.
Something like that, right? Because I'm going to go back and watch a long play of this track and field. I guarantee that.
Yeah.
And of course,
Well,
Did you know esports are joining the Olympic competitions?
I heard that.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah,
So if they don't start with
it's
Tetris,
official.
it's
I know
got
It's
to
they're
probably
gonna
going to be
breakdancing
Counter Strike.
this year. I was curious to see breakdancing. Did y'all see that was added?
No. I saw the skating one, and it was kind of skateboarding. I mean, and that wasn't really great.
Olympics. Baldy, I'll ask you. There's been controversy about how NBC broadcasts and programs Olympic coverage over the years, especially from countries where there's a really big delay. Do you have some input or perspective on that? Because people just bitch about NBC's coverage about the Olympics all the time, but I haven't really heard that in more recent years.
Like Medium, I'm a cable cutter, and I haven't had to put up with that in a long time. Every now and then we'll watch the opening ceremony or something, and I feel like it's kind of like right before the Super Bowl begins, where there's just constant commercial breaks and cramming stuff in. So anytime I've tried to watch it, it's never been good. My favorite Winter Olympic sport is curling, and it's practically ignored on here unless the U.S. are doing well. So I would get a VPN or whatever else I could to try to circumvent it, just because you can't find it in America, and without a cable subscription, it's just nearly impossible. Half of it's on NBC, some of it's on ESPN. But yeah, I would agree. I felt like all they do is constantly hit whoever's the new hot young sensation, or so and so going the Michael Phelpses, or somebody trying to go for a personal best, and they'll focus on them to the extent of even staring at him sitting on the sideline while another race is going, because that's the focus. So I don't know what the right word is for it. It just doesn't cover the sport literally for me. So I try to find it elsewhere.
Right. Medium, did you have a last minute interjection on the Olympics here before we start our ascent into the metaverse?
I mean, I guess other than basketball, which is a fairly generic, everybody plays that kind of sport. My senior year of high school, I thought I was going to be a track and field guy. And I trained like crazy hard for a couple weeks. And the lamest thing happened where I had shin splints. It was weeks,
yeah.
It was probably months actually, but it was basically like a bunch of trainings per week, and I could not believe that it's shin splints, and that's what kept me from like doing it for real in my senior year. I was so excited. They were like, "Man, you got so much potential." Blah blah blah. I'm just like,
I'll never be an Olympian,
man.
I'll
never get to go to the Olympic Village.
Right. How am I ever gonna get out of this country? Yeah, that was lame. I couldn't believe it. I was like, come on, man. At least be bad at it, or like be lazy. Don't like tell me you just can't.
All right, let's get out of here. Unless anyone has anything else that they really got to eke in here before we close this vault Disney style for the next 20 years. Good. Okay. What's everyone working on? Well, since Medium was the last one to speak, what's projects you working on? Where can we find you? What's your pimping? What's your big pimping spinning G's? What we got going on?
Yeah. Okay, I am on the YouTube, of course, at High Functioning Medium. Twitter at High Funk Medium. You can find me on assorted places like Patreon and Ko-fi and PayPal and wherever money likes to be spent. What I'm working on, actually, right now as we speak, I'm fiddling with a title that I don't like. Got some Aliens content coming out. We got Colonial Marines this week. And then in the next week or two, we've got Isolation. And then I'm going to be doing kind of a weird breakdown of its AI and stuff like that coming out. And then just quite a bit of random things, RPG here and there. Some horror in October. So yeah, quite a bit on my end, but all kind of in a swirl, trying to figure out which week to put what.
Excellent. Give Medium your money. Shkatsky, what you got going on? Where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on the Primordial Chronicles channel on YouTube. Recently, I've came back to the scene with my latest video that has been doing pretty well for my own standards. So that's great. And I also reached 500 subs. So hooray!
Yay.
Yeah. And currently I'm working on a video on a maybe not really, really old, but pretty old Codemasters game that some of you might have heard of, but let's just say it's tied to ancient Greece.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yo.
All right.
And that's it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Shotsky. And Baldy, close us out. What you got going? Where can we find more Baldy?
Well, Generally, if you just Google just a bald guy, it shows up. But I do a few things on YouTube. I am working, hopefully, with one of our really good friends, fan of the channel, long-term ally, Yahoo Silverman. We are trying to patch together some stuff on a specific YouTuber, Kyle Bossman. So we're going to see if we can get that to work. But I've also been doing stuff on TikTok thanks to my daughters because she finds those goofy dances, which works well for me being the awkward middle-aged dad dancing in the background. So on there, I am the _ Mr. MR _ Wyatt. And I like to just do goofy little things on there because I feel like I will actually see it through and not quite get stuck by the let me edit
Very
this
convenient
30-minute video and get it perfect. It's more like, yeah, I'll just throw it out there and see what happens. So that's been the focus, and hopefully I can actually get something goofy out there from time to time.
Right on. Look forward to seeing more of that. And obviously, don't forget to visit us in the Discord. We're all regular denizens of the Nth Review. Am I saying that right? Nth Review Discord.
Yeah. Also,
yeah.
is that still also the Nth City Discord?
It is. Yes, you can absolutely. If you are an Nth City fan, you can drop in there as well and talk about city stuff. I would love to do more Nth City stuff, but as I've said before, it's just like what's algorithmically beneficial.
Yeah, do it.
I know. I did like 4 episodes worth of content, but putting them
Very
together, scripting
convenient
them, all that stuff.
algorithmic
That's
excuse to go back and
there's just not enough time. Well, you know what, guys? I'm glad we were able to get together even for this episode. I know everyone's looking forward to the next one, but that's all the time we have for now. So if you like this, don't forget to hit that like button, give it a subscribe. This is the point, the call to action, where I'm reminding you to go and do the things that help this episode become really successful on the cyberspace. And drop a comment if you're craving more 4Player shows, or if there's topics you want us to talk about, or if you just want to hear us being old men talking about things.
Stories. Many more old men stories.
Way more old men. We have old men stories for days. You want to hear about Kazaa? We've got them for you. You just have to tell us you want it. So until next time, peace. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Arrivederci.